Hi, I'm Erin, and this is Erin Go Read. Today I have a seasonal TBR. These are the books that I would like to read in spring. I've been finding lately that monthly TBRs just aren't really working for me. Part of it is that I'm just not reading as much as I once was, so rather reading, 10 to 15 books over the course of a month, it's more like 10 to 15 books over the course of a season. And I tend to read kind of by a combination of by whim and by mood, right? And so the season really tends to kind of determine what that mood is for me. So I have 12 books. These are, of course, a pile of possibilities. These aren't must-haves. I'm a grown-up. I can do whatever I want. And so I never feel an obligation to read a book that I'm just choosing to put on an arbitrary list. But these are the books that I'm looking forward to reading in the near future. So the first ones are actually a major departure from what I normally read. And they're going to be part of a project. Hopefully I actually follow through with this project. But I'm actually going to try out some romance books. So I actually yesterday filmed the beginning of like a try a chapter tag, and of these 3 books that I've gotten from little free libraries in my neighborhood. And I just keep seeing romance books, like more and more people seem to be reading them. And I read Take a Hint, Chloe Brown last year, which everybody seems to like almost unanimously love this book in that series, and I did not get it. So I thought like, all right, could I be a romance reader? Is there a type of romance that maybe I would be into? I don't know. I got these books for free, and so I thought I would try them out. The first of those books is The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guilllory. This is a fake dating trope. I know I watch enough booktube at least to know that romance trope. And it takes place in San Francisco, which is just about 100 miles away from me here. Actually, there's a Book Passage store there in San Francisco. And it's this girl is from Berkeley, and she's visiting her sister in a hotel. Her sister's visiting from New York, and she gets stuck in the elevator with this guy, Drew. Drew is there in town for a wedding, the wedding of his ex, and he doesn't have a date to the wedding. They kind of hit it off in the elevator, and he asks her, "Hey, are you busy this weekend? Would you be my date?" So I've actually started this. I'm on page 40, and they're just attending the rehearsal dinner. I'm actually really enjoying it so far. It's cute, it's light, it seems pretty kind of realistic so far, at least. Nothing seems like really far-fetched, but we'll see. I don't really know what to expect in terms of the steamy level. I don't know about that yet, or what I'm going to think about that, but Project Romance is in the works. Next book I have from that is a very, very different look. This is Debbie Macomber. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Where do you put the emphasis? Macomber? Debbie Macomber? Looking for a Hero. So this is actually a bind up of 2 books, Marriage Wanted and My Hero. So I'm going to start with Marriage Wanted. I did a try chapter tag, so I did read the first of this, and this is kind of maybe it's a hate to love, I'm not sure. You have like a divorce attorney whose sister is getting married to his, chagrin, and then the wedding planner so he's very negative about marriage, she's very positive about marriage, and they have this kind of cute banter, and they don't seem to they very much disagree, but they seem to have good chemistry at least, and so that's the beginning of that. It kind of if I wasn't reading, if I had to, I could have kept reading that for sure. And you can't read a romance without reading Miss Nora Roberts. So this is this giant trilogy bind up I found. It's the Lovers and Dreamers trilogy, and the first one is Daring to Dream. So I read, this was a longer one because there was a prologue before the first chapter, but I went ahead and started this one as well. And so this is about Margot Sullivan is the daughter of like a kind of like the Hiltons, like a rich family who owns a bunch of fancy hotels across the country, and she wants to go off and go to LA and be rich and famous, or go be a model or an actress or something like that. And there's definitely some chemistry between her her like kind of like adopted brother. So she's like very much taken in by the Templetons, this family, and kind of she feels like a sister to the Templeton children. Laura is her best friend, and even though there's 4 years age difference between her and the brother, as they age, there seems to be a little bit more and more chemistry happening there. So I assume that that's where the romance is going to be. And again, I could have kept reading this. So now we get to the books that are a little bit more on brand, more my normal deal. And this first one, I need a new edition of because my dog buried this copy of Anne of Avonlea. My dog loves cardboard and paper products, and this used to be more of a problem than it is, but you can see it is quite battered, tattered, dirty, just even from just like the damage, not even just the dirt, but it would be hard even just like to hold this book to read it because it's so warped. I grew up watching the movies, Anne of Green Gables and Anne of Avonlea, and my dad used to read me the books, the first two books at least, when I was younger as like bedtime stories. I've read Anne of Green Gables a couple times, but I've never as an adult continued on with the series. So I do have, in those editions, I do have the rest of the Anne series, which I've never read before. So I would like to get a nicer copy of Anne of Avonlea, or at least a clean copy of that edition, and continue on reading the Anne series. We have a couple of classics coming up. So we have John Steinbeck's East of Eden. Until I read the blurb about this just now, or the inside cover, I actually didn't know anything about East of Eden other than I know that it's many people's favorite, Steinbeck even favorite book. And so this is about a family who moves from the East Coast to California to farm. The wife, the mother, has some sort of mental illness that I don't know if she dies or she is institutionalized, but it leaves the husband, the father, then taking care of the boys themselves. And I was getting like Cain and Abel vibes actually. So the boys' names are Cal and Aaron. And then it seems that there's a lot of darkness and mystery and strife that this family goes through. One of the boys, I believe, that ends up being quite successful. One has a really difficult time. So I'm feeling maybe some biblical symbolism here with the Cain and Abel brothers. Then we have Edith Wharton's The Age of Innocence. I actually don't know anything about this book. I know it's like 1920s, New York Gilded Age. That's basically all I know about this book, but Edith Wharton is one of those authors that I've been wanting to get to. I do have a copy of Ethan Frome too, which is considerably smaller than this. But yeah, I want to get this Edith Wharton, and it feels like what better time than the present? Or at least the near future. I keep feeling like I have a hair, like right here. Okay, then we have Transcendent Kingdom by Gyassi. I bought this before a trip or on a trip. Didn't get to it then, but would love to get to it soon. I think I have my Ruby's Bookstore bookmark in here, so I believe I did buy that at Ruby's with the intention of reading it on a plane. You know what? Maybe I could read it on a plane because I'm going to Nashville on April 1st. So maybe this will be a plain book, but this is kind of religion and science kind of meet, and there's a woman kind of in the middle struggling with the head-to-headness of the two. Then we have the second book in the Farseer trilogy, Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. I read The Assassin's Apprentice late last year and absolutely loved it. Also, this just looks springy. I will try to only get these editions from Book Depository because I just love these editions so much, the UK editions. And this is just the continuing saga of Fitz, and the writing just sucked me in. It was so easy to read, and I felt so connected to the character of Fitz, and I want to be back with him and in his world. My pile's getting lower. I'm going to move the pile to my lap, I believe. Then we have My Name is Lucy Barton by Elizabeth Strout. I loved Olive Kitteridge and Olive Again, I think, whatever the follow-up to that one came out last year or the year before, by Elizabeth Strout. I don't know much about this one other than Lucy Barton has a surgery she's not recovering very well from, and her mom comes, and I don't know, plot, I suppose. So I just really loved Elizabeth Strout's writing and the way, the character of Olive Kitteridge in particular. And so I'm hoping for more, I guess not more of the same, but at least, you know, my liking it in the same way that I really liked Olive Kitteridge. Then we have the second book in a series, What a Concept, continuing on with the series, Akata Warrior by Nnedi Okorofor. This is the follow-up to Akata Witch. So from what I understand, Akata Witch is more of middle grade, Akata Warrior is more kind of YA kind of tone, and then the newest one, Akata Woman, is more of an adult book, and this is following, what's her name? Sunny. This is following Sunny, who was born in America, but she is of Nigerian descent, and she, in the first book, she has just moved back to Nigeria with her family, and she discovers that she is a leopard person, which means that she has magical abilities, and there's kind of a magic school kind of things. There's these other friends, these other people who don't fit in similar ways that Sunny doesn't fit in. Not only is she American born, but she's also albino. So she very much sticks out, and this is her continuing story. Then I have a memoir, Ordinary Girls, by Jaquira Diaz, and this is a Puerto Rican woman's story, her own memoir of violence and mental illness in her own life. It's supposed to be very poetic, and especially as I'm writing my own memoir, really I'm just my eye catches the word memoir, and I'm wanting to see other people's writing. Especially one thing that I'm struggling with in my writing is how to beautifully write something where I'm just telling the events that happened. You know, not sounding info dumpy when I'm dumping information or like a sequence of events. How to write that more beautifully, more interestingly, and so just really looking to memoirs to help just educate myself on what are better ways to write that. And also it sounds like a really harrowing story of Jaquira Diaz's. And finally, really the book that, I didn't mean for this one to be the last book, it was just the biggest book, so it was on the bottom of the pile. The book that really inspired this whole idea is Damnation Spring by Ash Davidson. And this takes place not far from me in the California Redwoods, I think in the 70s, in the 70s. And it's a husband and wife. I believe there starts to be some conflict over the logging industry. He works in the logging industry, and then she becomes aware maybe of some environmental issues that are even affecting her own health, having to do with the logging industry. So I think it's kind of a novel about what do you do when you find out maybe the science behind something that goes against your values or that would put your own kind of livelihood, you know, in jeopardy. So it makes me think of even like, you know, smoking or something like that. Like, can you continue to have this cognitive dissonance after you've learned something about an industry or a topic, whatever, when it's really affecting your health? And so it's very much about, so I believe it's very much about their marriage and then dealing with this back and forth struggle between his industry, his livelihood, and the science of maybe the effects of the logging. This is quite a stack. So these are the 12 books that I'm hoping to get to in the spring season. I'd love to know if you've read any of these books. Are you a romance reader? Did it take you a while to get into romance? Like, is there a particular type of romance? Help me out here, and then let me know if you've read any of these books and love them. Thank you for watching. See you around the tubes.